Kia ora! The LEGO Marvel Avengers tower releases this November in 2023. We now have a few pictures that we can go over, and I've got a few thoughts. I've been a pretty big fan of these D2C Marvel sets. I think it's always going to be a little frustrating that LEGO will put a whole lot of effort into making these types of sets rather than putting all the effort into the play sets that everyone can afford. The set is pricey. It's pricey just like the Sanctum is and just like the Daily Bugle, but it is also the same scaled size. It fits in with that design, kind of. The Bugle being based on the comics and the Sanctum being based on the movie does annoy me a little. This is based on the movies, not the comics of the Avengers. So specifically Avengers 2012 and Age of Ultron, also a little bit of in-game references there as well. Extra accessories I'll get into first. We have a little micro build of a Quinjet, we have a Leviathan from the Chitauri and Loki's Chariot. I really like those builds kind of overall. I'm a bit 50-50 on those. I think that the Chariot is really cool. It was one of my favorite inclusions from the original Quinjet release that came out for the first release of the movie, but the Quinjet one just doesn't really work. I guess it can kind of go into that little helipad that they've got at the top of the tower there, but that's something that's just embedded in my mind as being a really big build, so seeing it as such a micro thing here, it's just a little funny. The Leviathan is really frustrating to me. LEGO have never gotten the scale of this thing right. I think they included one in one of the in-game sets and it was just like small weird micro build. A Leviathan should realistically be like a 300 NZD set at this point. We should have a really cool looking Leviathan set. Now as for the tower itself, it stands at around 35 inches tall, which is really tall. It's around the same length as a base plate at the bottom there because it's going to be built on a base plate, but the top balcony section does overhang that, so be wary about your display area and where you're going to possibly put the set. It looks as though that giant wall section there can come apart completely, and then you've got some folding tab areas for that top balcony section. It allows you to get inside the building there. That was the best part of the Bugle, honestly, being able to take apart the entire window section so that you could have an inside access view. These rooms are interesting. We have the little reception foyer at the very bottom here. This is representative of that scene from Endgame. You can see that we have Loki, some S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and Tony Stark there. We have this little balcony section here in which Captain America fights himself from Endgame. I like the use of those clear tiles there on the ground. They represent the glass from the balcony being smashed. You can see that the balcony there isn't actually fully built. It's a cool little side detail like that. We have this little scenario here where it looks like it's the shawarma scene from the first Avengers movie. At least that's what everyone else is saying. It's not though, it's totally from Age of Ultron when they're hanging out after the party. You can see that Thor's hammer is down there. They're all trying to see if they can pick it all up. A couple of missing people there, but we'll get into that in a sec. And then we have this little room here where Hulk can perform his finishing move maneuver on Loki there. It's pretty cool. Obviously the biggest draw about these types of sets are the minifigures. LEGO Marvel is infamous, I think, for kind of phoning it in on the minifigure front, at least in my opinion. I can't pinpoint exactly when this started happening, but every Marvel set I feel like has a couple of really good, excellent minifigures, and then a couple of ones that are just really disappointing, and then a couple of figures that are just really worst offenders, honestly. So we'll get into the whole big nitty gritty here. First off, we have a Kevin Feige minifigure. I guess he's the very first film producer to ever be made into a minifigure form. It's weird, but I understand, but this is, ideally, this would be the kind of figure that you would have as like your special for San Diego Comic-Con or something, not an actual comic figure that people want. Give us a weird little inclusion like a Kevin Feige. Yeah, I don't know, I really like film, and I really like film directors and stuff being put into toys, but I don't really see this as anything other than just like an ego boost. We start with Tony Stark. He looks like he's the exact same one from the What If set. Speaking of Tony Stark, we might as well just point out this elephant in the room. There are 4 Tony Stark / Iron Man figures in this set. Some of the figure selections are a little egregious in my opinion. Again, we'll kind of get into all of that. We have an Iron Man Mark 7 and an Iron Man Mark 6. I believe most of those figures that were included, if not all of the figures that were included in the recent Quinjet that came out at the start of the year, which I don't currently have, they have all been reused in this set. So having known that now, I won't be trying to buy that Quinjet. I'm just going to put the budget of that towards this instead, because you know, you might as well. You get all those exact same minifigures here. The Mark 6 I believe is new. It's got some battle damage printing there. I like the helmets that are used on the new Iron Man figures. I think that that's a controversial opinion that some people don't like, but I'm a fan, so I like these 2 inclusions. We get not 1 but 2 Captain America figures, and I guess, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, they're doing that so that you can have that scene from Avengers Endgame where you can recreate the fact that Captain America fights himself. So one of them comes without his helmet and the other one does come with his helmet. Weird waste of a space if you personally ask me. I don't need to recreate that scene from Endgame. That just doesn't mean anything to me. Cool that they included it, I guess, but this is just, it's really odd to me. Thor is included. He uses the Mad Eye Moody hairpiece. It works so well for him, especially for that 2012 MCU era of Thor, so I really like this inclusion a lot. And then we have Black Widow here. I don't think LEGO have ever actually really nailed a Black Widow minifigure. She looks fine, and I think it's accurate enough. I like that hairpiece that's included with her, but they've never really kind of aced that character for me. We have a brand new Wasp and an Ant-Man microfigure. I'm gonna rant a little bit here. LEGO just do not want to make it easy for people who missed that Ant-Man and the Wasp set. If you want a Wasp and an Ant-Man figure, it's really annoying that we haven't had another set where they are both minifigures and together. So hopefully at some point in the future we do get a set that comes with both a minifigure of Ant-Man and Wasp in a set, or at least in the same wave. The Wasp figure looks really good. She's got a really nice looking helmet print, and she actually uses some really good looking wings. It's a much better improved figure over the Ant-Man and the Wasp one. But the figure inclusion of her hair and the Ant-Man micro figure, it's really weird. They never interacted with the Avengers Tower, so right off the bat I'm telling you that I'm not a big fan of the 4 Iron Man slots, the 2 Captain Americas, and the Ant-Man and Wasp inclusion. It's really weird. But now we have Hawkeye, who's a really good looking figure. It's a really good remake of that 2012 Hawkeye. He uses the CMF series Hawkeye hairpiece. I think it looks really dead on for that Jeremy Renner, so finally we'll have a definitive Hawkeye figure. And then we have Wanda from her in-game appearance. It's a terrible inclusion, really, honestly, just out the gate. There is no Quicksilver minifigure included, and there is no Wanda included for her Age of Ultron appearance. I think it's a really weird inclusion. I think it's really lazy, and it's very clearly indicative in my eyes of them just kind of throwing someone in that they had as a spare. Falcon looks pretty okay. I don't really recall what his costume looks like in Age of Ultron. He's not in it for too long. He does have his brick-built wings here. I'm personally more of a fan of the single-piece wings that were used on, say, the Vulture and Falcon's original appearance. He's a fine inclusion, but I wish he had some of that red coloring. Again, though, I don't recall if that's what his costume actually looks like. I'm just kind of remembering the Civil War one. Vision is here, and I'm not super fond of this Vision, but I do appreciate its inclusion. It's a brand new design for Vision, finally. He's got some really cool translucent legs, and his cape has some printing that looks as though he's being formed. This is him from Avengers Age of Ultron. This is when Ultron is designing the perfect body for himself, so it's a cool inclusion. War Machine's here as well. It's possibly just a reuse one. I don't know, I haven't really kept up with my War Machine figures. Pepper Potts is here as well. Seems to be a reuse, just with a different hairpiece. I'm not sure. She's kind of just like a default vanilla figure. We have a Dr. Helen Cho. She was only featured in that one movie, Age of Ultron. She helps kind of design the Vision body for Ultron. Cool inclusion, I suppose, and yeah, it makes it like more connected towards the world of Age of Ultron. They included a Wong. Are you serious, LEGO? Really? I don't know why they keep doing this. Do you see what I mean by just like LEGO are just throwing people in at this point? There's no reason for Wong to be here. It is a very weird inclusion, especially I don't understand. What is he doing? It's a weird inclusion. It doesn't even come with a Doctor Strange figure or anything. It's just, he's just thrown in here for no good reason. Nick Fury is here. I feel like it's kind of like the obligatory, especially if you're honoring the first Avengers movie, so it's cool to see him here. We have a Hulk Big Fig. He looks like he's a brand new one. He's got very dull colors, a different smiling expression. You probably have noticed that I haven't mentioned a Bruce Banner. There is no Bruce Banner minifigure. That is a flaw. We'll get into that. A build of dummy doesn't count as a minifigure, but I just thought I would kind of point that out. Eric Selvig is here as well. It's a cool niche inclusion. It's a good home run for the people like me who kind of have most of these figures. It's good for like the people that are the diehard fans of these things. As mentioned before, we have Tony in his SHIELD agent costume. We've also got 2 other random SHIELD agents, and we have Alexander Pierce. I think that this inclusion is weird on their own, but as an ensemble, it's really cool. I would have really liked to have preferred, though, maybe like the Sitwell figure or a Brock Rumlow figure. I just think that it would kind of complete that scene a lot more if you have the Tony Stark as a SHIELD agent and the Alexander Pierce. You could have swapped out that Captain America. You definitely could have swapped out Wong. For Chitauri soldiers, I don't have any of these Chitauri soldier figures. They came out in the wave of in-game based sets. It's a cool little army builder, especially if you don't have any of them, so now you're going to get like 4 of them. Loki, I believe, is the exact same figure that came in that recent Quinjet. He comes with that hairpiece as an extra, and he also has that reversible head where he's got the mouth guard on. And then we have Ultron based on his Phase 1 appearance where he took over the Iron Legion suit. I guess we're just never gonna get another Ultron Prime figure. I was really hoping that this would come with that, even though this inherently makes more sense to have this Ultron here, not Ultron Prime, but you know, I don't have Ultron Prime, so I kind of want a remake. Yeah, so I'm kind of satisfied with the figures overall. I think some of the stronger inclusions are maybe like Hawkeye. I really despise the fact that they've thrown in a Wong. That's a waste of a space. The Wasp is really cool, but I would have preferred that she was in a different set. Wanda is a waste of a space. I think that the multiple Captain Americas and the multiple Iron Mans, that's a waste of a space. I think I would have preferred if this went the Death Star route and we had the main Avengers from their iterations and appearances in the first Avengers movie and in Age of Ultron. I like the in-game inclusions. I think it's kind of neat, but I've got a couple more problems with those in-game inclusions than I do the regular ones, you know? I just think having 2 of the exact same Captain America figure, except one of them has a hairpiece, is a waste of a space. Why didn't they just give us the Age of Ultron one instead? It doesn't matter if we can't recreate that in-game set. That's not an important segment. So overall, it's cool. It's weird to be excited about an Avengers set based on its build more than its minifigures. I have all of these minifigures, really. The really important ones that I wanted, at least, I have. I think it's cool that we get an Alexander Pierce and an Eric Selvig, but I'm not frothing at the mouth to spend over 500 USD on this thing. It's closer to, like, it's a lot in New Zealand currency. It's really expensive, and there's other things that I kind of want. Like, I don't currently have Rivendell, and that's where my priorities are right now, trying to catch up on those rather than go for the brand new. So yeah, I guess I'm just kind of feeling a little mid? I don't know. It hasn't blown me away like other sets, and I really hoped that it would, because I stand true that the Bugle and the Sanctum are two of LEGO's best sets that they've ever pulled off, so this one's a nice addition, and it's probably the best Avengers Tower that we'll ever get. It's also probably, I guess, worth considering they probably won't do this again later. This will then retire. It'll be the one best iteration of the tower. You might as well just get it, I suppose. But what are all of your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of the fence on this. I don't know. Let me know. If you enjoyed this little news update video, liking and subscribing does help to support this channel a lot. We appreciate all of the support that we can get. Ka kite anō.